at that time. I was not part of that meeting, but I do recall her sending you an email reminding you about some of those resolutions which were taken last year and the fact that we needed to act early in January so that we didn't run out of time. So now hence this frustration. But I think Honorable Kalako is right in one point in saying, while I did not receive the agenda, remember I'm not a member of this committee, so I did not receive the agenda. Other people are lucky that they received it, but I think it's important for us to get a detailed briefing, indeed, around all the issues and the work that has been done thus far, the preparatory work for this process, and we can also have that discussion outlining the way forward and what steps we're going to follow from here onwards. I think there's no harm in us doing that. Thank you, Chair. I lied up the million was not Ted.
Thank you very much, honorable members. The agenda item that has been put down here is discussions on the SABC Board and MDDA vacancies. As I have apologized, the Secretary of the committee is not around, so I think they are just trying to help us to function, which is important. I think I have done some introductory remarks. The only thing I would like to add, honorable members, is that we have to be disciplined and be sometimes careful and not make vague allegations which one cannot substantiate, because it takes away that respect the public expects from us as public representatives. I can't come here and make wild allegations which I cannot substantiate and call myself a leader or a public representative or make false accusations. It's not good enough for the Parliament of the Republic of South Africa. It's actually a shame and an embarrassment. And having said that, I'm coming back to the issue at hand. With regard to the advert that we put out last year, you will recall, honorable members, that we were not sure whether to put the advert at that time or to wait for people to come back from leave and then we advertise. We advertised because we felt if we wait for the opening of Parliament this year, we might struggle with time in terms of all what we needed to do to strengthen our boards. So I just want to I think it is important for us to be aware of, I think, one hiccup which has been reported to me by management, that people responded, but there were a few who said the email, what was it? The email was full. Yes, the email was full. And I discussed it. I met with the senior advocate here to discuss that. She said, in future, what needs to be done, if we issue an advert and we expect the public to respond, a special email must be created just for that purpose, not the usual members' email, not the usual officials' email. So I think that won't happen again based on the loophole that we've realized. The management informed me that people who contacted them saying they had problems. Oh, first of all, before that, apparently when they became aware, they sent a tweet message to say anyone struggling to send through this email, they gave them an alternative email. And most people who saw it then started using that one. And so I was told last week that those who insisted that they didn't see a tweet, but they have sent through an email, they allow them to send it, and when they resent, they could see that actually this person had approached us on such and such a date. I'm mentioning this so that when we actually get when the team actually do the short listing and so on, we should ask that the Secretariat indicate all those mistakes, because it could be a risk whereby, you know, the process, somebody else have put in something. It's just, I'm told the numbers are not so big who fall into that category. So, but it's always good for everybody to know. And the response, I don't have the exact number of people who applied for internship, jobs, and so on. You have it got? How many? 90. Yeah. 90 of those who responded, they say they were looking for internships. Yeah. Yeah, he's trying to help with the numbers, of which we'll officially get in writing. So the other point I wanted to put to you, honorable members, is that when the team from management came back, I think they started round about the 14th or 15th. Yeah, round about the 14th and 15th. And they started registering the work. That's the 15th, around the 15th of January. Up to that point in time, in my understanding, there should be no political interference, even myself. I cannot capture what has come from outside. So, hence I'm a little bit irritated by saying there's a delay because of the 107th year of the ANC, which was quite early in the year, and the management started working on the 15th, doing what they are supposed to do in terms of the law. They finished. Maybe I will ask you just to give the exact numbers, including the ones, because the committee had said the ones who had applied previously, we keep them. So if you take those, plus those who responded, minus there about 90 of those who wanted internship. Yeah, minus them out. If you can just give those numbers so that I continue quickly.
Morning, honorable members, honorable chair, thank you. Just to give you a brief on the statistics that we received. In total, we have about 323 nominations that came through. And out of those 323, 90 were disqualified subjectively, so on the basis that most of them would be looking for internship and so forth. So it's people who just saw an advert and did not read or delve into the details of the advert and just send their applications through. And I'm sure members will be quite aware that or familiar with that notion, because we've been doing it in the past. So 90 of those were disqualified on that basis, which is the screening process that Mr. Ngoma usually does by himself. And if you recall, members, honorable members, that we had advertised for positions, for nominations around the 16th of October last year, and we had received 80 nominations for that process. And due to various reasons, we could not get to a point where we could interview those 80 nominations, or rather, we shortlisted the 80 nominations, but we could not continue with the interviews of the said people that were already shortlisted for then. We then proceeded, following another letter from the presidency stating more resignations, particularly that one of Ms. Kanyisile Kweyama, John Medicine, Krish Naidu, and Mr. Matata Tsedu. And we then proceeded on 11th December to advertise for these new vacancies that had arisen. And in that advert, we did specify that the people who were nominated before, which is the 80, need not apply. So by the time we closed that particular advert, in fact, it was the 21st of December, it was then decided that it should be extended for the entire of December, so that we enable people ample time to apply for the positions, advertised positions. By the end of the entire process, we had received, this is excluding the 80 that had already applied by the October process, we had received 153 nominations, bringing the total nominations that is official to 233 nominations. And that excludes, like I said, the 90 that were just generic applications. So in total, we had a total of 323. So if you minus the 90, then we're left with 233 nominations for the SABC Board nominations. Thank you.
Okay, honorable members, those are the numbers then of the people that we have. On the MDDA side, also the response, because we had to advertise for both of them. But maybe let's take one at a time. Let's look at, let's deal with the SABC. But I just thought before even we pass it on, since it's here as an agenda item, it's important to say we will be giving you the numbers of how many people applied. What then the officials did after registering. Because Mr. Mgoma is not here, I had wanted him to give us the dates to say we started on this, by this date, this is what we have achieved. We started working on the summaries, in terms of qualifications and everything. It took us so much. I think it's important to look at that as well, so as to ensure that nobody has a feeling that there was another process in the corner besides what management was doing. It's a due process overseen by the legal department. There are steps, you can't just jump and take over. It was only last week when they said we are finished with the summaries or finished with this, then that I said to them, look, then we have to call the committee. The committee has to meet. And so let's come back then to the SABC. This processing of applications, which was, we as a committee here, when we took a decision, we had thought it would be even much quicker. We'll be able to start doing our work. And of course, I can understand when they explain the screening that they have to do. That's where we are now. We have the numbers that are people who needs to be, the CVs of people who needs to be looked at by the shortlisting team. But I think the management has to help us with new timelines in everything we're doing. Because if they have finished their work, we need to be clear about then what are new timelines that we have to work on when processing this. Having in mind that the Parliament will be rising very soon. Last week when I met with one of the legal advisors, she looked at two scenarios, but of course they haven't given us an opinion in writing up to today. This morning I met with one of the legal advisors. I said, we are still waiting. If you talk about scenarios of how to approach the matter, what does it entail? And we haven't received anything up to today. But as it is then, honorable members, here is information then, which we have to look at and revisit our program of action. And whatever we do, we will have to get a revised program from the management committee. And after that, if we seek approval, let's say we need extra time or whatever, we'll have to seek all the necessary approvals. There is the matter there.
No, thank you, Chair. Thank you for your update, Chair, because it helps us a lot so that we know where we are. Maybe before I make my proposal, my suggestion along what you are outlining. Firstly, I wanted to know from, of course, the staff whether they have already done screening of these CVs. Because when you receive CVs, the process is, before we start anything, they must table a report so that we know those qualifications are valid. Secondly, there's this other leg of security vetting, which is not done by us, even not by them. It involves some screening by police. If you don't, so that they check you don't have a criminal record or what, all those things. I think those, if we can clear those up. But Chair, I was going to suggest that on what you have said already, I concur with you. Let's look into a timetable now of when are we doing shortlisting, followed by interviews, which, as you are saying, it will be tight. It might even necessitate that we seek for an extension, even if Parliament. But you must know, Chair, that if we seek that extension, it's got another implication. It will mean, if we have not finished before the Parliament rises, it will mean Parliament will have to be reconvened in order. So that's another danger we must look at when we deal with this. So that is why I was interested in those. You know, sometimes it can be easy. We can sit and do these interviews, shortlisting, we peg our time of our timetable. But there's this element of this security clearance, because that report must be tabled before the committee so that we are able to move. Chair, I was going to suggest that let's look into the program now and the timetable in view of what I've raised, if the staff have any answers on those two issues. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Just to maybe answer the questions from the Honorable Member. The screening is complete, so I think what we're really busy with was the abridged CVs, which are also complete and should be shared with the members. In terms of the vetting, I'm sure members will be aware, we don't do the vetting up until such time that there are shortlisted candidates, because you can imagine it'd be a cumbersome process to do vetting for all the CVs that we have. That's over 200 CVs that we have to deal with. So we can only commence the vetting process, which takes about 2 weeks, only after the shortlisting has been done and it's confirmed. In as far as the interviewing process, I will still caution that we are quite aware that we're filling 8 positions. This is only for the SABC. And for each of the positions, we'll need to interview at least 3 candidates. So that will bring a total of 24 candidates to be interviewed. And if you do at an average of an hour, 30 minutes each candidate, depending, I think honorable members will be quite aware or familiar with the process. We usually take about 45 minutes to an hour, 30 minutes, depending on the candidate. So we will have to then sit down and sort of plan around the number of candidates and the time that we have. And then we can most possibly in our next sitting have an answer as to whether it's feasible or not feasible. But my gut feeling says it could be done, provided that members are available for the interviews over a period of 3 days. I'm just thumb-sucking now. And that's excluding MDDA. So I just thought I'd put that out there. Thank you, Chair.
I think the key point is very, very important there, so that in our program of action, we filter in then the security vetting of interviews, because we can't take forward people. We'll have to look at estimates how much time will it normally take. No, I mean normally you don't dictate to them. They can do it within a day. They can do it within a week. They can do it within a month. You see, yeah. Okay then.
Chair, I earlier wanted to suggest that maybe let's also get a presentation on the work that has been done on the side of the MDDA, because the discussion now that we are in now will in a way include the issues of the MDDA, because the same process. But nevertheless, let me proceed with my input with the understanding that it can still come at a later stage. My take is that we are dealing with an issue that is very, very urgent. The filling in of the vacant positions, both the MDDA and the SABC. We then suggest that we might have to revise the program of the committee to attend to these very, very urgent matters. That's my starting point. We might have to even work beyond the weekly program of the committee, where the committee meets on Tuesdays to process matters of the committee, so that because we don't have time now. That's my proposal, that let's agree that as we deal with these issues, we'll have to revise the program. Agree that we might even have to meet some other days beside Tuesday. I agree with members who had earlier suggested that from the Secretariat they were supposed to be guiding us in terms of that program of action, indicate to us, which must then guide us, what is it that we are supposed to be doing by when. That's what, in fact, that is what I had expected when I came to this meeting, to say this is how far we are, and this is what we are then proposing to the committee in terms of us taking this process forward. So all I'm saying is that let's agree that this is an urgent matter, and the same process that we'll agree upon, obviously, it encompasses the MDDA. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Are you giving me a chance? Oh, okay, thanks. I think, Chair, we all have interest to have a quality candidates in terms of SABC Board, and the people who have a vision in terms of concreting the issue of collapsing of SABC in the borders. We must be very sober in terms of screening. I was have clarity, Chair, in terms of the figures we have. This 233 is included the old application we have, or is separate, is the new, or is okay. I want also to support the idea of my colleagues next to me to say we must have another meeting as soon as possible for interviews, because we must be really sober in terms of choosing the candidates. We really need the quality that will build SABC. Thanks, Chair.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And thanks for the update. But I should say this, that I'm a bit disappointed, because I thought that the administration, when it's briefing us today, it will be briefing us, giving us a whole brief and the whole program in terms of what they see, because themselves already know that we're rising up on the 20th and build the program from the 20th coming this way. Otherwise, if the administration is not assisting us with that, then it gets to be a frustration. I do sympathize with those that expected the interviews to start in the middle of January. But obviously, what we are raising, Chair, that the staff started in the middle of January, it's a problem. So what I'm expecting from the management and staff is that a program that tells us how do we go, a roadmap. Because from where I'm sitting, we are not supposed to start to say we need 3 days, and he says is them sucking 3 days and not what. We wanted a complete program that will work with, amend the program, so that if the program must tell us whether we must go and talk to the House Chair, whether the Parliament can rise the following day, 21st, and so on and so forth. So this one, now we are just a bit blank from the administration side. I'm suggesting that that today is a Tuesday. Next week, on Tuesday, we shortlist. And then after shortlisting, that other week, we start with the interviews. We said all full 3 days and do the interviews, because we're expected to do the interviews. And that will cover the 20th, so that you don't look at and think of a date beyond the 20th for Parliament to look at the names. And I'm also suggesting that we condense, because of the time frame. Let's condense now. What we'll tell the candidate when we interview them is that this is subject to a security vetting. Because security vetting can take 3 weeks, and then this is going to collapse our program. And we'll have people going to newspapers lying and say the ANC does not want to do the interviews for the SABC Board, which is not true. So if we condense the program and say that this is subject to a security vetting, which may be done either individually at a later stage or simultaneous with the process of interviewing, so that we safeguard the date of the 20th of rising up. I think we still have time. Let's put our hands on deck and run with this process, and without a delay from today. I think we will have to take it from there. Then other issues, and I'm suggesting, Chair, that the same program must be drawn for the MDDA. Same program. Let's run with these interviews and request permissions to be excused in other committees, and just run with the interviews. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Chair. I think it's what is a shame and embarrassment is to blame the secretariat of this committee for the delays. This committee is run by a chairperson who works with the advisor, who works with the secretary. So to sit here and blame them and say it's their fault interviews haven't happened is completely unfair. I mean, there's a chairperson who chairs this committee and should have kept us as members of this committee updated about what is going on. There was a void of information. I wrote 3 emails to you asking what is happening, because I had waited in January. I'd planned January, it's interview time, so I've set that aside. You did not give us that information. So we didn't know what's happening. So now here today, let's talk about the way forward. Here today, we have...
Sorry, ma'am. You are taking too much time. And you are really creating a problem. If you have an
Why
issue,
are you disturbing me? You did
if
not
you have an
disturb the other
issue-
members. Can you let me finish speaking?
Yeah, if
All
you have
those
an
other members
issue-
spoke.
Wait. If you have an issue with the chair, I really invite you to my office.
I've already raised the issue. Now I'd
You
like to
got a
talk forward.
point to make here?
I've got a point to make here.
Please make
and
it.
please do not interrupt me. I have a right to speak in this committee like all the other members who you didn't interrupt. So I will not
They were not going to side
You
issues.
do not
They
have
went
to.
to a point.
No, it is very much relevant to the point that you, as chair, should have kept us informed as members of this committee what was going on. So take responsibility for that, and don't try and shut me down because I am telling you what makes you uncomfortable and is the truth.
Yeah.
So going forward, here is my no. I'm not going to. You're not going to keep me silence me. Going forward, the Secretariat says the CVs and the summaries are ready. Can we please receive those summaries and CVs tomorrow? So as Honorable Bongo suggests, that next Tuesday we have this whole week to look through the CVs, and next week we shortlist. And I don't think time is an issue. I served on the SABC inquiry. We met through the night, we met on weekends, so it is absolutely possible before the 20th for us to do the interviews, for vetting to be done, and I don't think we can say we have election commitments. I'm a co-person of my party's election campaign, but also I know I'm a member of parliament and I have duties here. So I am willing to sit here and make sure that those interviews are done. If it means I sit here until 10 o'clock, until midnight, if it means I sit here on weekends, but what must happen is that at the end of this term, we must have names that are provided to the National Assembly for approval. If it takes longer than that, then as Honorable Kalako mentioned, that if a special sitting of Parliament needs to be called to approve those names, then that must happen. But I agree that we need to make sure that we interview, and I agree with Honorable Bongo, next week we shortlist. So as the usual process has happened, I know you're new as the chair, we've done this several times. So what usually happens, we receive the CVs, we look at them, we shortlist, and then we come back and then we interview. And then I'm also curious, Chair, about why you had to meet with a legal advisor about this process, because this is something we've done. The other committee members can talk about. We've interviewed several times about SABC. It's not a complex thing. We do it all the time. So what was the meeting with the legal advisor about? What legal opinion was needed? Because I don't understand where the legal complexity is. This is something we do all the time.
Thank you very much, honorable members. I think starting from the first intervention, it's clear that we are all in agreement that we have to revisit. The committee has to assist us with the program of action. And some of the points that have been raised, which we didn't accommodate at first, we'll have to make sure that they are filtered in, because it's also important, whether it's after the interviews or not, because I think it's something which is critical, so that we don't recommend names and start saying to Parliament, but subject to this. That won't be fair for Parliament to approve. So, as I said earlier on, really the key person is off sick. I haven't spoken to him. I don't want to make any commitment on behalf of management, because he's the only one who has the data, who works with it after the revision and so on. But I will make an effort. I know I saw the note, it said till Monday, and then on Monday he's visiting a doctor. Yeah, but I will try to send a message to him to contact me so that I talk to him as well. With regard to the program for the MDDA, I suppose we could ask them to do the same, basically. And so that when we meet and we look at the total picture, the timelines that are important for us, we look at both structures. With regard to then what we do, again, it's a question of applying. They have to write to the chair of chairs and make a request to say, this is what we require. Our members should be excused from Parliament if they have to be during the sittings, because they'll be doing 1, 2, 3. That we'll have to do before. It's very, very important to do that as well. And I don't know whether to really respond to say, why did I have to meet with the legal advisor? Ridiculous as it is, the questions, but I suppose I have to dignify it. Basically, as a chair, whatever I do, I have to consult with the chair of chairs. I have to consult the chief whip's office. I have to consult the legal department. We had an issue of the email that created a problem and unfairness. Remember, we have a huge number of people who live in rural areas who have to be included in these processes. When official says, oh, we went to a Twitter and then we started filtering in information. Where I'm sitting, I want a fair process, an inclusive process, not for people who live in golden cities, for everybody in South Africa. So I had to make sure whatever we're doing was correct, even to include those names for the management, to include names like that. I had to apply my mind. Is it acceptable? Does it interfere with our process? Is it the right thing to do? There are tedious things that you do. And of course, maybe you haven't sat in a position of a chair. You haven't applied your mind about governance issues. For me, it's not about coming here to get an opportunity of a screen, but it's really about applying my mind behind the scenes, rightfully or wrongfully, intelligently or stupidly. But that's my orientation and my responsibility. I have to do that all the time, so that whatever we do is within the prescripts of the laws of this country. So, honorable members, I think really on our side we have exhausted both items. What is left is to get the management team to come back to us with a program of action and to write to all members. It won't be me, to write to all members with regard to the dates and timelines in terms of the shortlisting and so on, which I think we cannot finish here. I see you are raising your hand. What's an issue?
Chair, I agree with you. Earlier on, I wanted to suggest that some of the comments might not necessarily have to be dignified in the manner in which you were doing, because already I think we have agreed on the route that we need to take. What we might just want to suggest now, Chair, is that we can't solely rely on Temikos who is not here. That might be problematic. I think let's agree that the officials who are here take over the process, attend to whatever is supposed to be done. If Temikos comes back next week, he must find the ball rolling. That's what I'm suggesting. Let's agree that the officials are here. They understand what is it that needs to be done. They must start immediately, because this is a very urgent matter. Brief us, of course, through your office in terms of the work that has been done. Already we are in agreement that we'll reconvene next week on Tuesday to start with the process of shortlisting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Definitely arrangements will be made because apparently there were no proper arrangements for a long period of time. But it's understandable. After this, we'll have to definitely make sure we do that. And I hope yeah, and then we'll also make sure that we make arrangements for all the CVs to be made available as soon as possible. We will also try to access the computer with all the information. Yeah. We'll have to access all the computer with critical information so that when we talk of summaries, we have summaries, numbers, everything properly as finalized by Temikos. But that point is taken, that work must start from today. We'll have to make proper formal request that we get a representative at least for a week. Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am.
Chair, with regards to the MDDA, there was an announcement by the by the Minister that there will be a merge between USASA and MDDA. Can we just get the details on that? And then also, if that is the case, I just want to know, two entities with such different mandates, how that process, why are they being merged if that is the case? And also with regards to the board members of both those two entities, how will they be accommodated if there is a merge like that? If you just can inform us on the details.
Well, in the program that we had worked on, we had a date for the minister to appear before the committee. And I think that's when we'll get an official position of what is her thinking. Yeah, and I don't think she will come with a final position. There'll be room for members to influence her thinking. She hasn't come formally since she started to us. Yeah, he's just saying it was supposed to be the 26th, but it might change. What we might have to do is to find a way of slotting it in early so that there is a presentation from her. Because these are important decisions. If we're too slow, we might find that she has met with the other committee on telecoms and we're left behind.
Thanks, Chair. I don't think I agree that we should wait for Temikos. I'm sure the CVs are in hard copies, so are the summaries. So I don't think there is anything stopping what the Secretariat from dropping off the CVs like they usually do to us by tomorrow. I don't think, I mean, you can pick up the phone and call Temikos and ask where those documents are. So that can't be a reason for delay. I also want to make an additional point that this committee is one of the few committees where we put our political differences aside and we work together. So an adversarial attitude where you seek to insult members of other political parties is going to damage the work that we do at this committee. We disagree, often, but we disagree respectfully. So I'm just saying to you as chair that we've worked hard as this committee, because we've been together for quite a number of years and we've been through many challenging times. But when it comes down to it, we work together. So I just thought I should put that to you, that a relationship like this is not going to work for us. We work together as this committee. So I'd like you to please lower your sword, take constructive criticism as it comes, because we're respectful to each other. They often also criticize me, but it's done from a position of respect. We don't use words such as stupid and embarrassing towards each other. So can I ask you as chair to please reflect on that and make sure that we can work together for the rest of this term and do what needs to be done. Thank you.
Thank you very much, honorable members. I thought Honorable Seli said we shouldn't wait for Tembinkosi. And I hear Honorable Van Dam saying, I don't think we should wait for we should wait for Tembinkosi. That's why sometimes I doubt my own mindset. He actually made the same recommendation, that we shouldn't wait for him. Nobody have said we should wait for him. The agreement was that the process must start. So when you come and say, I don't agree, I don't think we should wait for him, I suppose that's why it creates confusion, because nobody have said we'll wait for him. That's the summary was that work must begin. And
my point was, can we get the CVs tomorrow? That's my point.
Sorry, can I just finish? So I think Honorable said your recommendation stand. Already I've said it was just to follow procedures of requesting the other member to stand in properly for a week instead of going back to international relations. Yeah, the request for the minister might have to come back. Honorable members, if there are no other issues. Yeah, okay. I wanted to actually close.
Yes, Chair, I know. I wanted to go back to what was raised early, which I think is a responsibility of this committee by Honorable Van Dam, which is in the public domain, of course, now, of the point in which she says we must add of the chairperson of the council, ICASA. We have been dealing with this issue for a long time, even up to the level of where to withdraw it from the order paper in Parliament, when we had concluded that he must step aside when he was attending the case. But due to the correspondence between him and the lawyers of the and his lawyers, between him and the office of the speaker, which suggested to us that we cannot do that until the case goes through. I think the second time he came back and said he has appealed the sentence. I mean, the after he has been found guilty, but now he has been found guilty completely. Now, and I understand that he's appealing the 20-year sentence, not the conviction. I think, Chair, it's going to be important that we seek relief, act fastly with the office of the Speaker, because it must be this committee, it must be this Parliament through this committee, which takes the issue to Parliament for his removal. Maybe to remind the members, if you remember, when even during the time of Comrade or Minister Nomvula, she did tell us that no, she's The power is with us when the members were insisting that the minister must just remove. So the minister said, no, no, it's your parliament who actually have put those people there. So it's your parliament who must take the process. I will only be instructed by parliament. So I think we have to chair to quickly deal with that with the office of the speaker. I don't think it needs a long process with us as a committee. It needs the speaker's office and the process in parliament.
Okay, thank you very much. Because we didn't have it as an item, I didn't really report on it because I could see everybody wanted to know about SABC Board, which is important for all of us. I met with the Deputy Speaker of Parliament about the matter. Why I met with him? Because I got information that there is a letter which came from the Speaker's office which made it impossible to implement the decision of the committee. So it became important for me to establish what exactly was the reason for that. Basically, he said at that time he had appealed I don't know, I don't have the facts as to what the lawyers have said, what were they pleading for, but he had appealed. But although he hasn't sent me a letter, because I only met with him yesterday, he said he will be fully behind the committee, because once a person has been found guilty and once a person has been sentenced, it means definitely that person is in violation of the critical act, the clauses that talks to the integrity of councillors. So it will no longer be a problem for what he said. They are fully behind the fact that we should just follow the procedures and make sure that it's done. It just that as a matter of courtesy, I thought, let me establish from them, was there something which we missed as a committee and that we'll have no option but to take this position. So we will still, discuss it properly, because now it was not formal in the agenda, and get all the necessary information for the committee next week to deal with the matter. Thank you. Honorable members, thank you very much. Can I propose that we close the meeting? Oh, sorry, on the matter. Okay.
Chair, I just, in terms of the ICASA Act, I had a look at the Act. So in terms of the Act, once a person is convicted, they're immediately disqualified. And the body that can remove a councillor is us, and then sent for approval to the National Assembly. So as Honourable Kalako says, it doesn't have to be a long process. All it needs to be, I think, is just a resolution which is drawn up by us saying we note that he's been convicted, he no longer qualifies in terms of the Act, and would like the National Assembly to approve it. I don't think, as Honourable Kalako says, it's a long thing. It's literally just a resolution that needs to be drawn up. We adopt it, it goes to the NA, and it's done. I don't think it needs a lot of work.
Honourable Mashola.
Before you conclude the meeting, my appeal, Chair, for the next future meetings, I want to appeal to all of us to respect one another. We must not come here to have a militant behavior, not to respect one another. It's very bad for the nation, Chair, I'm just talking about my colleagues. I won't raise any name, but we must respect one another. And we must cover you as a chairperson. We must not be a victim in that chair. You know, Chair, really, I feel very traumatized in this meeting today to see our behavior. We are not in a soldier's place here. We are not in a training in a soldier's field. We are here, we must do these things in a united way so that we can come over in this backlog of these boards. Because we are in a backlogs. I'm just appealing to my colleagues, chairperson. I don't want to specific to say I'm talking to you so and so. Next time we must not behave like this. Thank you, Chair. That camera must not show us in the nation that we are behaving like animals here.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thanks, Chair. I'm just suggesting, in line with what Honorable Kalako and Van Damme said, that let's dispose of this matter in terms of the provisions of the Act. It be our resolution today that the necessary resolution in terms of the Act is just provided for and taken to Parliament at our earliest convenience. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I think we have exhausted all the issues. Honorable Machoba, I think this matter maybe really we came from different positions because there were members who felt the process was not moving. And so sometimes it takes time for people to realize that there were no ulterior motives. The process was going on, but it was not yet at a political level. And it's not everybody who, when they get information, they will toe down and say, oh, I thought it's this, but it's not that. And so I fully agree with you. It's not necessary. We've all been in the game all our lives. The multi-party situation is where it is today because of our efforts in reconciliation and unity. So in future, I can just say, please, honorable members, if we can just have trust that when things are not moving, it's not because there's a political interference. There are things you can do, but there's a limit as to how far you can push the staff to do certain things, especially when they report to you to say this is tedious, it calls for a lot. Then they will take you to other meetings, just as though you had an ulterior motive to achieve certain things quickly. And so I fully agree with you, Honorable Machoba. We all believe in sanity. We all believe in implementing and living the values enshrined in the Constitution. Respect, treating each other with dignity and respect. And really, I want to assure you, as I said, if we all apply discipline in our minds, listen to each other, we shouldn't have problems. Thank you very much, honorable members. Meeting is adjourned.
Can I just have a commitment regarding the CVs? When are we receiving the CVs? I'd just like to know so I can plan my week ahead. Mbo, maybe you can advise, when are we getting the CVs? When are we getting the CVs?
Sorry, ma'am. I had said members will be notified as soon as possible by the team.
So you'll be notified when we'll get the CVs.
You will be getting them as soon as they've got information, and they will start sending.
Okay. All right. If we can commit to a date, that would be great, because we want to shortlist on Tuesday.